never imagined my life would take such a dramatic turn. My name is Emily, and I'm a mother of two, James, who is 18, and Sophie, who is 8. Being a single mother hasn't been easy, but I always prided myself on holding things together. My days are typically a whirlwind of work, school runs, and managing the household. But this story isn't just about the chaos of daily life, it's about an unexpected encounter that reshaped everything I thought I knew about love and trust. It all began on a Monday morning, one of those mornings where everything that could go wrong did. Sophie couldn't find her favorite shoes, and James had forgotten to finish his homework over the weekend. I was already running late for work when I realized the car wouldn't start. Frustration bubbled up, but I couldn't afford to let it consume me. I called a rideshare and hurriedly bundled the kids into the car. "Mom, you forgot my lunch," James said, halfway to school. I sighed, mentally adding another task to my never-ending list. "I'll drop it off later, honey. Just focus on your math test, okay?" After dropping them off, I finally made it to the office, flustered and out of breath. My colleague, Olivia, greeted me with a concerned look. "Rough morning?" she asked. I nodded. "Is there any other kind?" She chuckled. "You're a superhero, Emily. Don't forget that. Her words were kind but felt far from the truth. Most days, I felt like I was barely keeping my head above water. The day trudged on, filled with meetings and endless emails. By the time I clocked out, I was mentally and physically drained. As I waited for the rideshare to pick me up, I noticed a man struggling with a flat tire in the parking lot. Normally, I would have walked past without a second thought, but something compelled me to approach him. "Need some help?" I asked hesitantly. He looked up, his expression a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Actually, yes. That would be amazing. I'm a bit out of my depth here." He introduced himself as Daniel, a new hire in the IT department. His smile was warm, and his laugh came easily as we worked together to fix the tire. By the time we were done, my hands were covered in grease, but I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. "Thank you, Emily. I owe you one," he said as we parted ways. "No problem," I replied, not thinking much of it. But as I rode home, I found myself replaying our conversation in my mind, his laughter echoing in my thoughts. The days turned into weeks, and Daniel's presence at the office became more noticeable. He had a way of lighting up a room with his humor and genuine kindness. We began to cross paths more frequently, sharing casual conversations about work, life, and everything in between. One afternoon, as I was heading out for lunch, Daniel caught up with me. "Hey, Emily. Want to grab a coffee?" "My treat," he offered. I hesitated. It had been years since I'd gone out for coffee with anyone other than Olivia, and even then, it was strictly for work discussions. But something about Daniel's easygoing demeanor made me nod. Over coffee, I learned more about him. He was a single dad to a 6-year-old girl named Lily, and his devotion to her mirrored my own dedication to James and Sophie. We bonded over stories of sleepless nights, tantrums, and the joys of watching our children grow. "It's not easy, is it?" he said, his voice tinged with a mix of exhaustion and pride. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." "Neither would I agreed, feeling a sense of connection I hadn't experienced in years. As our friendship grew, I began to notice subtle changes in my life. The days felt a little brighter, the burdens a little lighter. Daniel had a way of reminding me to laugh, even when things were tough. One evening, as I was helping Sophie with her homework, my phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. "Daniel, Lily wants to know if James and Sophie would like to come over for a playdate this weekend." I smiled at the thought of our children meeting. I quickly replied, agreeing to the playdate. When Saturday arrived, I packed a bag of snacks and drove the kids to Daniel's house. His home was cozy and welcoming, filled with framed photos of Lily and her colorful artwork. Lily and Sophie hit it off immediately, giggling and running around the yard. James, though initially reserved, warmed up as Daniel engaged him in a game of basketball. Watching them together, I felt a warmth in my chest, a feeling I hadn't allowed myself to embrace in years. As the playdate continued, Daniel and I sat on the porch, sipping coffee and sharing more about our lives. He spoke about the challenges of balancing work and fatherhood, and I found myself opening up about my own struggles. "You're doing an amazing job, Emily," he said, his voice sincere. "Your kids are lucky to have you." Tears pricked at my eyes, but I quickly blinked them away. "Thank you. That means a lot." From that day on, our families became intertwined. We took the kids to the park, shared meals, and supported each other through life's ups and downs. The more time I spent with Daniel, the more I realized how much I valued his presence. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, Daniel and I sat on the couch, a quiet tension hanging in the air. "Emily," he began, his voice hesitant. "I need to tell you something." I turned to him, my heart pounding. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. I care about you, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time. But I know how complicated this is, with our kids and everything. I needed you to know. His words hung in the air, heavy and full of meaning. I felt a surge of emotions, fear, hope, and an undeniable sense of joy. Daniel, I said softly, I care about you too. But you're right, this isn't simple. We spent hours talking that night, discussing our fears, our hopes, and the possibility of building something together. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was honest, and that made all the difference. As the weeks turned into months, Daniel and I took slow, deliberate steps in our relationship. We made sure to prioritize our children, ensuring they felt secure and loved. There were challenges, of course, blending two families is never seamless. But through it all, we leaned on each other, growing stronger together. Our children adapted in their own ways. Lily adored Sophie's adventurous spirit, and James found a new role model in Daniel. There were moments of sibling squabbles, but they were outweighed by shared laughter and teamwork. One memorable evening, we planned a camping trip with both families. Under the starlit sky, as we roasted marshmallows and shared stories, I realized how far we'd come. Daniel and I exchanged a quiet glance, a silent acknowledgement of the life we were building together. But it wasn't always easy. There were disagreements about parenting styles and struggles with balancing work, family, and our relationship. One particularly heated argument left me questioning if we were doing the right thing. But Daniel's unwavering support and our shared commitment to communication pulled us through. One crisp autumn evening, Daniel invited us all over for a barbecue. The yard was decorated with twinkling lights, and the smell of grilled vegetables and burgers filled the air. As the kids played tag, Daniel pulled me aside. Emily, there's something I want to ask you, he said, his eyes sparkling with a mix of nerves and excitement. Before I could respond, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple yet elegant ring. Emily, you've brought so much light into my life, and I can't imagine a future without you. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. Yes, Daniel. Yes. The kids cheered as we shared our news, their laughter echoing through the night. In that moment, surrounded by love and joy, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Our wedding was a simple but beautiful affair, with our children playing an integral role. Lily, Sophie, and James stood beside us, a symbol of the family we had become. As we exchanged vows, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this moment. In the months that followed, we continued to navigate the challenges of blending our lives. There were tough days and moments of doubt, but the foundation we'd built together held strong. Daniel's love and support became my anchor, and I worked to be the same for him. Our home became a sanctuary of laughter, love, and togetherness. The kids thrived, their bond deepening with each passing day. Watching them grow, I was filled with pride and a renewed sense of purpose. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, Daniel took my hand. Emily, he said, his voice filled with emotion. Thank you for taking a chance on me, on us. I love you more than words can express. I smiled, my heart full. And I love you, Daniel. You've given me and the kids a life I never thought possible. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over our home, I felt a profound sense of contentment. Life wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful in its imperfection. Together, we had created something extraordinary, a family bound not by blood but by love and choice. Looking back, I realized that the challenges we faced only made us stronger. They taught us to cherish the good times and to support each other through the hard ones. And as I sat there, surrounded by the people I loved most, I knew that we could face anything the future held. Our story wasn't a fairy tale, but it was ours, and it was perfect in its own way.